Why your perfectionism is creating an inner civil war for you. I'm Mario Leone. Welcome to the Voices of Victory channel. Very first key idea I want to tell you about, it's not about discipline, and it's not that you're stuck in the mud in some way, shape, or form. Perfectionism is indeed running behind your decisions, and it's all because you have a mental recipe as to how things should be done. So it's acting like fear that's buried underneath your confidence. It creates an inner civil war between the head and the heart inside of you, which is frustrating. And perfectionism tells you that the work is not ready. So what that does is it creates more delay. You could say perfectionism is really delay in disguise. And the more thinking you do, the more overthinking, you feel that you have to delay it even more until it's perfect. But what it's actually doing is creating a ton of emotional heaviness inside of you, and you start to push away the very things that you have to accomplish. So it's not about how much work you do, but it is a mental recipe. And high performers actually have this. They have that inner civil war. Their standard is so high and the fear is so buried that they put off doing things altogether. It becomes very fear-based at the end of the day. And perfectionism is not related to quality control for you, but it's you avoiding having to take an actual risk. But you have to take a look at what's possible. When you're going to do something, you can ask yourself the question, is there a way to go backwards? If I'm about to make a decision, can I go backwards on this? Can I go back 2 steps, or do I have to commit right now? And it's that point of commitment that can scare people because they can't reverse engines in the whole process. So think of this like a system. It's a mental recipe that you run daily. You have to be able to define what's done before you even start. You decide what is done in advance. You have to have a clear finish line of what done actually looks like. A report is complete at version 1, but then you might update it 3 times and improve upon it. So we have to get clear. We have to get clear because that'll prevent the endless tweaking that winds up being unnecessary or even ruining the finished result. So you have to take small steps. And action creates motion, and motion reduces that resistance. So action creates evidence, and that actually gives you more confidence. But if you're going to write a paragraph, write out a rough draft. It's called a rough draft for a reason. Then you could iterate a few times. Schedule imperfect first. That's the rough draft. And then you could start adjusting and iterating it until it becomes really sharp and clean. So you have a draft completed by 3 p.m. regardless of the quality. But what'll happen is if you're under pressure, the time will squeeze you a little bit more and frustrate you. But we have to separate the creation from the improvement. You have to produce something first, and then you can tweak it and iterate it as you go. And creation moves fast improvement. And once you get clear, it'll avoid paralysis. That's where it gets interesting. You have to be able to measure things out very clearly and track what you do. Track your actions. You ignore how ready and confident you actually feel. That's what tends to happen. But when you have evidence gives you that confidence. And progress is based on your output, not necessarily how you feel on the inside. So here's the thing. Take a look at your work very early. Share your versions with other people. So if you have a paragraph, share your versions and get some feedback from other people. People that will give you honest critique. Send a rough idea to a colleague and get some insight from them. Because some of that visibility and sharing will prevent some of your overthinking because you realize that maybe it's your own mental recipe with it. That's where it gets interesting. Your completion needs to become a habit, not a constant delay over and over again. You have to be able to count your wins or your wins don't count because your brain learns to value and understand what done actually is. What does done actually look like? So this all works in real scenarios, but a consultant could actually delay working with a client because of the fact that their mental recipe is putting them towards a recreation of the draft over and over again. And that recipe creates a problem inside you, an inner civil war, because it's not done, I got to keep going. And you'll just keep delaying things and postponing the work, and other people will be impacted by that. But action replaces the hesitation. Action creates evidence. Evidence gives you confidence. Perfectionism puts you in control. That's why people do it. They have to feel in control. And action builds skill. It builds confidence. It also builds results at the end of the day. So when you run the mental recipe of iteration, that you're going to reach a new standard, you're going to start off with a rough draft, and you're going to have a different version. But you have to decide on paper what done actually looks like. And that is where it gets interesting. So next time you feel like you're going to delay something and you want to be perfect about it, write down on paper what done actually looks like visually. And do yourself a favor, come up with some bullet points to reach what that done looks like. What this will do is allow you to become a little more of a planner. You're not living in your head so much, you're dumping on paper. But when you reach done, your brain will now say, okay, it's where it should be. And that's when you can let go. Have a great day. See you on the next episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and if something like that happened to you, comment below. Peace.